everyone. I am Madhu. I am a watercolorist and the author of the book Vibrant Watercolor Birds. I'm so excited to bring to you this 5-day challenge. It's called Summer Blooms and it's inspired by bright, bold watercolor florals. It's perfect for beginners. So if you're just starting out using watercolors, trying to figure it out, this is the perfect class for you. We have a list of supplies or materials that you will be using for the class, and it's mentioned in the captions below, so you can check it out. And that's about it. So enjoy. And if you're trying out the projects, please do post them on Instagram. I'd love to see them. You can use the hashtag Femvisionary challenge so I can have a look, or just DM me your artwork and it just brings me so much joy to see them.
Are you ready to dive into day one? Let's start with the colors we'll be using for the challenge. This is going to be the same set of colors that we'll be using for all the 5 paintings. The first color we're using is a bright yellow. This is a cadmium yellow. It is easily available in a lot of brands. The next color that we'll be using is orange. Orange can be mixed by adding equal portions of yellow and red together. Following that, we are going to be using a bright pink, also known as an opera pink. It's a beautiful color and it's really going to help with our summer florals. It's bright, it's bold, and by adding this color, we're going to get that brightness through. After that, we can add in a purple. The purple is a mix of blue and red. However, in this case, I've just used a ready-made purple. This is slightly difficult to find in usual brands. I am using the purple from the Art Philosophy Tropical Set. Following that, let's use a green. For the green, I've taken a little bit of the Viridian normal green that I had, but I also added a little bit of the bright pink. By mixing the two colors, you can get a little bit of that vintage look, which is perfect for our color palette. Once I'm happy with the 5 colors, we can start with painting. As explained, I'm using an A5 cold press sheet. I have drawn 4 circles for the center of my flowers in the middle of the paper. And now I am adding dots with that bright, bold pink surrounding each of the circles. Now these flowers will overlap, and so I've made sure that they are placed very close together, so there's not much of gap between them. After adding the bright pink, can add a little bit of that purple in again the area surrounding the existing flowers. Purple is a very bold color, so even a little goes a long way. Now using my clean brush with clear water, I'll drag the paint from the center slowly to catch those colors in the form of a much more sharp petal shape. I'm trying to figure out how I would describe this, but it's more of an N shape that I'm just filling up. I love adding these mix of colors together, and the flowers generally look very vibrant. If your brush has a lot of purple in it, wash it out again and use clear water and drag the paint. This can tend to happen because obviously your brush is gonna mix those colors in, so if it's too muddy, just wash it out. And slowly I'm adding one petal at a time, filling in the spaces. Painting florals is such a meditative process for me. I always feel very calm when I paint them, and it really makes me excited. There's something so pleasing about painting florals. And as I got better at it, it became something I would do on a daily basis. So we've gone through the first flower and now I'm doing the second one. And you can see how I'm ensuring that I overlap it with existing petals. This is part of just allowing all the flowers to bleed through, which gives it a beautiful look. Again, using clear water and dragging the paint from the center in the shape of an N. Here the leaves are much more squared off or rounded rather than curved. And once we have done this, we can do our final flower before completing this flower set. I like how the flowers are also starting to merge. As we move on, we will add highlights, and that's gonna make it much more clear. But for now, allow it to blend together. Using clear water and dragging petals for the final flower. Before I move on to other elements, using a pencil and just drawing stems and also assumptions of what can I add next. This is an easy process to just make sure that I don't end up with empty spaces or an artwork that doesn't look very aesthetically pleasing. So I've added a long line all the way from the bottom higher up, adding 2 circles. These are going to represent some of the other elements that we'll be using for this piece. Now I've done 2 long stemmed flowers. So I'm starting with using yellow dots around that center line. This is the cadmium yellow that we used in the beginning. You can notice that I am making more dots at the bottom and lesser ones as I move upward. Now adding a little bit of those details to paint a flower that I've seen before, but I never knew the name of. I had to Google it for this tutorial, so yeah, I'm learning a lot. It's called Crispedia. So generally in flower stores, if you get a bouquet of flowers, they always add these yellow flowers. And now you know the name. It's called Crispedia. Very odd name. But anyways, it just adds so much to our bouquet. Now, using orange, I'm adding more dots to the existing line that I just created. So we have a mix of yellow and orange. Now using clear water, I'm painting out some stunning petals just from top to bottom. You can see how I am doing this, and I'm also making sure that they are much bigger and wider at the bottom and much more smaller as we move up. This kind of flower just really adds height to the painting. If you are kind of wondering how to paint the petals or what kind of strokes you would need, I have a tutorial called as Brush Drills for Watercolorist, and I've added the link above, so you can click on it and it goes into detail of the different techniques and brush strokes, and this can really help you when you are painting petals. I added it especially because I kept getting requests of people who were trying my work but weren't getting the same results that I was getting. So I thought that would be a good addition. So we're moving on. Our painting is mostly dry. So now we can go ahead and add the next layer of elements. So using the purple, adding the center dots for our first flower. I'm gonna add these very rough lines to give it a little bit more of texture, and that just is gonna look a lot better. Using the deep purple will give it a little bit more of I would say a little bit more of life and give it more, as I mentioned before, texture. Once you're done with the centers, we can add thin lines to outline our flower petals. What I'm going to do is this part of our painting, I'll switch around the brush to my thinner detailer brush. You can see how this has made the process of adding lines so much more easier. And you can see how I'm also making sure that I do more of broken lines, so they're not perfect. I'm not outlining, I'm just adding a little bit more of, I would say, control, and this just in a way defines the flowers. But I'm doing all of this with my thinner brush. I think it just makes the process so much more easier than using the same brush for the entire painting. Though I am very, very responsible of doing that. I usually use one brush for an entire painting. But as a beginner, I think this is the best way to go about it. So when you're starting off, investing in a couple of good brushes can really help you out. One question that I keep getting asked is, what kind of brushes do I use? And honestly, the answer changes based on the painting, so it is a very hard question to answer. A lot of my brushes are local brands that aren't really available online. So now that we've done that, taking saturated orange, I'm adding another layer for the flowers that we painted. And I'm making sure that they're much more shorter than what I had painted before. So as I was saying, we can go back to our conversation. Brushes. So I've recommend the brand that I use for this painting in the captions, in the text below, so you can have a look at that. But yeah, it's more of a feel and touch, and if you can go to an art store, I would highly recommend it because you can feel your brush before buying it. It's tough to buy brushes online. Anything else, I think you can, but with brushes, it's better to buy them in person. Okay, so now I've gone on to taking my green and I'm adding leaves to my flowers. So I start with doing the center stem and then adding leaves, small leaves along the sides of the flower. And you can see how beautiful that looks. I think the green that we chose is perfect. It's very complementary to what we just painted. So adding that center line and then using green leaves. We can do the same thing, adding green leaves for this chrysidia, I think I forgot the name already. It's such a tough name to remember. Doing the leaves, and then we can do our stem as well, making sure they start from top to bottom. For convenience, you can move around your paper so that it's easier for you to do those thin lines. This is very important. So using that script liner, let's do our stem. I've made sure that when I do the stem I'm imagining a line that cuts across existing flowers. So it's not just random, but they are connected to the flowers that we have previously painted. And once you are happy with that, adding more stems, bringing it together, we can go ahead and add some leaves to complete the artwork. For the leaves, since we did smaller leaves on top, over here we can do much more bolder leaves. And you can see with the bolder leaves, I'm making sure that they go underneath existing flowers. Overlapping, as I mentioned before, is super important and very crucial. So you do want to make sure you underlap the flowers instead of keeping them separated. Adding more and more leaves to our artwork. To simplify the process, as you can see, I'm adding the outline for the leaves and then filling it up with paint. This is really going to help make sure that your leaves match your placement. And there you go. This is complete. We're slowly getting there. I love how the piece just comes to life with these leaves. And it's such a fun, simple painting. And you can use it in so many ways. If you would like to make a postcard or a greeting card, there's so many possibilities. We can also just have a look at the painting and see if we need to add anything more. In this case, just adding maybe a couple of leaves. Now that I've painted it, I'm happy with it. I don't know if I would have added the last set of leaves, but I think it gives a little bit more of, it's just more aesthetically pleasing. So adding that. Now that we've completed day 1, are you ready for day 2? If you have tried this project out, I can't wait to see it. You can share it on Instagram using the hashtag Femvisionary Challenge.